Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. I'm gonna try to not make this video so long because I'm getting ready to go see one of my friends for lunch at the Cheesecake Factory, which is a US chain that obviously sells cheesecake, and it's one of my favorite restaurants, even though it's a chain restaurant. My mom's side of the family really hates chain restaurants, but my one best friend and I always go to this restaurant every time we're together. It's like a yearly tradition. But today I'm going to meet my one friend who I haven't seen, honestly, might be since like 2016 or something. But yeah, I wanted to like reconnect with her and just see what's up. And she's really cool. She was a good friend because one time she went to a concert with me that she didn't even know who was playing, just to support me because I didn't want to go to New York City to a concert alone by myself. So that's really cool of her. So I'm excited to see her today. That's really good. And then I decided that today I'm going to announce taking a break sort of from YouTube, and like, I don't want this to be like sounding dramatic because it's really not like that. It's like, honestly, we should say congratulations to me because I'm going to take 7 consecutive days off from work, which I have never done, and I've been working now for a year and 4 months. Wait, it might be longer than that. A little bit longer than a year and 4 months. And I usually take like a day off here, a day off there, and I really like don't use my time off. So at this point, my one friend is getting married in Hawaii, and to be honest, it's just the time difference is too difficult. Like, I don't want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work, and that's the real reason I'm taking off. And then I'm also going to Iceland with my grandparents and my brother. And yes, I have my grand travel discontinuation, as I'm calling it, beginning in 2025. Aside from necessary travel to Finland to maintain a residence permit, this is just how it's going to be right now because of all the housing and financial issues I'm facing. It was actually very bizarre because this morning my sister woke up and said to me, like, I was downstairs, and she's like, she calls me Chicky. She's like, Chicky, if you don't have money, why are you going to Hawaii? And I'm like, because I booked everything for this trip 4 months ago and already paid for it. So either I go on the trip or I lose all my money. Does that make sense? Because this is a whole thing that like people are like, oh, you booked something, but it's going to be more expensive to go on the trip, so just don't go on the trip. And I'm like, you still have to eat and like, yeah, pretty much eat. If you already booked travel and lodging, like flights and lodging, then at that point it's just food, which you'd be paying for anyway. And a lot of places you stay, like that I stay, right, because I'm like a hostel girl, are places where you can usually cook your own food. Which, fun fact, I do that every time I travel with my one Finnish friend because, again, it's just cheaper. Okay, so grand travel discontinuation, yes, that will happen, sadly but surely. And this break is mostly just because I have these trips coming up, and I also just feel like I'm not in a really positive attitude to keep trying to add value up until that point. And legitimately, like, I'd have to stop recording by Tuesday, and I just like want to take the weekend, let's say like Sunday, Monday, let's call that my weekend this week. So that's really why I'm announcing that I'm just gonna take a break from YouTube, but like not a real break, just like 2 weeks. And it's my hope that by the time I come back, I'm going to be in a little bit of a better mood, and then I will be back for a week. That might be kind of a rough week, so we'll see how that goes because I'm coming off of lots of days off of work, and then I gotta quickly turn around and go to Finland. I'm trying to knock out some classes for my PhD, so I'll be taking those in the morning and working at night like crazy person, very American. And then also in the middle of that, I'm going to be like sleeping on my friend's floor because I rented out my apartment up until a certain point and it's not going to be ready for me yet. And I was supposed to like go stay with somebody, and then I was like, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. Yeah, I have some appointments also I need to take care of in Lapaganta. Whatever, this is like TMI, but okay. So just other things aside from that, like, you know, taking a break from YouTube. It's just like, obviously, as I'm saying, it's really hard for me to have this positive attitude because like there's just a lot going on. And I googled something very interesting today. I wonder if I still have this here because basically I don't know where it is, whatever. One of the problems I'm having right now is I'm starting to assert my needs and boundaries more with my family, and they don't like it, and they're getting very mad at me and calling me selfish, and that's really hard to hear, and it makes me feel really sad and guilty. And I was also reading this morning about enmeshment with parent-child relationships, and so like one of the other things that's going on is now my mom is threatening to not go to Hawaii with me, which I'm gonna be pretty honest, I could care less. That's really mean. And like, she already paid for her flight, so if she doesn't want to take her flight, that's on her. I'm also really afraid that she's gonna yell at me for the hotel that we booked because it's not very nice. It's kind of crappy. It was like obviously on the low end because I'm a budget traveler. And I think I should probably make more videos about how I've budget traveled all throughout my life and just kind of showing you the breakdown of different things and be like, here's my receipt for the hostel, here's my receipt for food, like here's everything I spent money on, here's the cost of transportation. So that's one thing. Like when I get more stable and settled, I hope to have like more bandwidth to contribute to that. I also have like interviews, but that's more on the Russian side. I need to like edit those and stuff, so it's been a little bit my apprehension with like continuing with those. It's just going to be a little bit more time consuming, and right now it's not even really a time problem because I'm not working at the restaurant that much. There's aren't that many shifts, and it's just the money's not worth it this time of year. But it's more of just like an energy problem because being at home has been very draining. And, I had a very real conversation with one of my BFFs yesterday, actually a couple of my BFFs, like this week, but the one yesterday was like, you like being in Finland because of the nature and your family stresses you out, and like I know that like you feel like obligated to be around them, but like you're kind of useless to other people if you like like you still have to take care of yourself at the end of the day. And she's like, and I'm like, but it's so hard. Like what you're saying, like I understand, it makes sense, but like emotionally it's so hard to do. And she's like, I understand, because as I'm telling you all this, I'm also telling myself. And this is a friend who also has a really challenging relationship with her mom and just kind of like a lot of drama, and like we can really identify with each other and relate to each other on this level. So just a lot of like family stuff, a lot of like criticism around me being really cheap and apprehensive to spend the money on an apartment. And so I have been thinking a lot more about just like moving in with my grandparents temporarily while I can save more money for a down payment. My dad, instead of yelling at me for wanting to buy a house, or he doesn't really yell, but whatever word you want to use, scolding me, okay, like reacting negatively to the idea of me wanting to buy a house. He's also talking to me about like the market, and he's kind of right, because I have been following the housing market in my local area for like literally since I've been working full time. So a year and 4 months. And I've seen some turnaround. We started with there being absolutely no inventory within my price range, and now we have a lot of inventory within my price range. And furthermore, it's starting to drop as interest rates are starting to go up, and probably the demand has been met, and now the market's getting a little bit saturated. So it's turning over to a buyer's market, and it's always this kind of cycle of boom and bust anyway that you're going to see. So like he might have some legitimacy to what he's saying. And I think that my mom is all like, well, you could have been trying harder to save for your down payment. And I'm thinking like, maybe she's right. And maybe that means that I should go live with my grandparents until I can save more for a down payment, because that privilege again is being taken away from me here. And I say privilege because it definitely is a privilege, and I appreciate that privilege a lot, because not everybody has this privilege, right? A lot of people get stuck in the renting cycle their whole lives, and it sucks. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Like, I'm just thinking more about, going down there. I know I'm going to get a lot of negative backlash from my family, but they're also like, let's say, really hurt at the prospect of me potentially living in Finland forever. And it was really funny because this one guy who I'm friends with in Finland, I don't see him that much, but like, I was talking to him about the whole, trying to decide what to do after I graduated. This was back in 2023 before I, came back to the US and started working full time. And just like talking about the whole like trying to buy an apartment in Finland thing. And he's like, yeah, it's just like your family doesn't want to see you go. And instead of like vocalizing that, they're just kind of like acting out. And I'm like, yeah, no, like this makes sense. So like, I get that it's really hard, and then sometimes, like, they'll get so frustrated that they'll just be like, why aren't you just there then, and I'm like, money and jobs and lots of other logistical issues. I guess the other thing I want to publicly announce is, like, I'm at this point right now where it's, like, really kind of emotionally difficult for me to respond to messages. So if you are one of these people, don't take it personally. It's just, like, generally I'm just having a hard time with that, unless it's, like, something that's time sensitive, like me going to see my friend today at the Cheesecake Factory. Okay, so there's that. And the next thing that I decided, so I don't know, because one person messaged me with a lot of stuff, and then I started thinking about, like, okay, I have like so many different directions I could go in with making videos about this, but like I'm gonna save this for like when I come back, because it's just like it was so like I could literally make 5 different videos about this. But instead, I'm just gonna talk more about maybe So it's going to sound really weird, but I thought about this morning because I'm really at this crossroads right now. And, whether people believe in God or not, totally on them. And as my brother says, God is whatever you want God to be, and listed a bunch of nonsensical things. Like, we make this joke about, this is like what this classic joke we have in our family about somebody who was like, I needed a baby stroller, and the baby stroller fell off a truck, and it was God who gave me that baby stroller. And it's like, sure, if that's what you believe God is, that's what God is, right? So I kind of started thinking about, when I was in Finland, I was having like a really hard time. Okay. Like, I always say that's when I was closest with God, because the whole no atheist in a foxhole kind of thing. And like, I was really struggling emotionally and with loneliness, and, like being in my own thoughts and feels a lot more than I am here. Here, I'm just distracted and reacting, right? Like, one of my friends had said this. He says a lot of insightful things. This was the same friend who talked about combating depression and doing something you like every day. He also, now I lost the train of thought. Hold on. It's going to come back. Okay, yes, so this was it. He was explaining how most people go through life reacting and not really responding. I think it was something like that. And like, he's not the only person who's ever said this, right? Like, this is something people say. And I'm sort of more in like this defense mechanism, survival mode. And like, in talking with my therapist recently, she's like, yeah, you may come across as selfish to your family because like you're fighting so hard to survive. And I just started thinking about how like this environment, and I don't really know that's just living in my home, but like, and I like New Jersey. Like, I love New Jersey, right? Because it's like, I think it kind of has everything. Like, I like that I don't have to drive very far for anything. I think it's got nice nature, but it is very densely populated, overwhelming, and expensive. A lot of things that are very sensory overwhelming for me. Aside from the fact that I have a lot of family who I feel like, even though they don't think they're trying to control me, it seems that if I don't do something they want, and I try to assert, well, I'm going to do this instead, then I'm being selfish and I'm just going to do what I want anyway. So I'm kind of getting closer to, it might be better to just be with my grandparents for some time. Like, my grandparents are obviously older than my parents. They don't have as many years left, and I really enjoy my time with them. And maybe this could be a really valuable experience I will look back on fondly for the rest of my life. They've also been wanting me to live with them for like literally 10 years. And if I was going to go work in DC at some point, like, I have to for the Bourne Scholarship, at some point, I have successfully kicked that can down the road by being a PhD student. So that was the other part of it besides the residence permit. Yeah, I'm pretty sneaky with this stuff, not gonna lie. But my point is, I used to have, like, during this really hard time in Finland, like, this prayer. I, like, wrote down, like, this list of things I would pray for to God every single day. Okay, and I'm gonna, like, share it because I thought about it this morning, and it's interesting because I'm going to go through it and I'm going to tell you the same thing that I thought to myself at the time that I still think to myself now when I look at this. So there were a couple ways that I felt like my prayers honestly had been answered, and they were more so related to like romantic relationship things, but I'm not going to get into that. I did have one person ask me about my romantic relationships. I'm pretty hesitant to like share that information online. Why? I don't know. I feel like talking about exes is like, it's really hard to do diplomatically. I'll try to speak about it in general terms, but I'm not going to get too specific. But anyway, so here it is. Okay. So whether to stay in Finland and buy an apartment here. And I remember at that point, like, somebody in my religious community came up to me and was like, we're going to pray for you that you can find a job here. And I was like, wow, I don't know. And then I kind of had this epiphany while running that the reason why I needed to stay in Finland was it was like, it made me less materialistic and less like driven in money, like achievement obsessed oriented kind of thing. And then I came back and I realized like how true that is, sadly. Okay. And so this had to do with whether to stay in Finland and buy an apartment and what the timing of that would look like. Well, I successfully completed that somehow and the timing worked out. So I was like, cool, that prayer was answered. And then how to end up in a relationship and place that is best for both my mental health and spirituality. So relationship and I guess physical location is what I meant by place. So that was interesting too, because I do feel very like spiritually and emotionally extinguished here, like in my current situation. Next one, how to cope with mental illness and whether to go on meds. I did eventually go on meds. I feel like they helped for a time, and to be honest, they're not helping anymore. Thinking about switching them, don't know, could give more feedback on that later, because right now my situation is like beyond medication coping. Next one, to continue to develop relationships that are mutually beneficial, right? Where it's like symbiotic, there's a give and take. It's not like me sacrificing my entire emotional well-being to make the other person happy, like I've done with my family my whole life. Next one, to be more patient, balanced, and joyful. And then this is the one I would put, and this was the one I'd always like get to on the list and kind of almost like start crying because I'm like, it's so hard. And this one is live my life for myself and not for my parents. and again, this is so hard because as a child, again, like your like sense of self-worth sometimes is very reliant on validation from your parents, and sometimes this leads you to like validation seek in your other relationships and feel like you have to sacrifice like all of your needs and wants, and sometimes in an extreme case values, just to have that person stay in the relationship with you, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship. And none of these things are healthy. Okay, you can do all the psychology googling in the world. I don't need to sit here and tell you these things aren't healthy. They aren't. You can look it up yourself. So that one would be really hard. That one was like, and I'm still struggling with that, right? Like to this day. And sometimes it's just easier because if I'm away, like the boundary is forced. It's a lot harder for me to assert a boundary the closer I am to my family. So as much as I have like this unwavering loyalty to my family in some way, it's like, I'm like suffering because of it. And it's hard to admit to myself, right? Because it does feel selfish. It does feel evil and like I'm a bad person. Like it makes me feel these ways, right? And the last one was how to find an environment supportive of my mental health condition. So anyway, I went through all that today because I was thinking about it this morning and kind of at this crossroads, and I think I'm just like in such a bad place. Again, I'm functional. I go to work. I do everything I need to do, but it's like certain things. I remember when I came back from Finland, or it might have been in summer 2022. Those were like the worst times. Both of those I came back from Finland, and like I missed like having friends. Like I missed being surrounded by people who at least liked me half the time, and like my family who just I feel very annoying to them, to be honest. And, I would just like lay in my bed and then I'd have like text messages and it'd take me like 3 days to answer them. And I'm like, I can answer my text because that's usually I answer my text at the end of the day if I didn't feel like answering them, or I can read books. And I was like, and reading a book right now feels a lot better than this. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at. Like right now I have all these things I need to contend with. I need to deal with housing. I have these things from like, actually maybe I shouldn't show that because this is, I don't know how private, whatever. This is like houses I'm looking at. I'm actually going to look at a house, two houses, condos, whatever, apartments with my brother and his girlfriend later today. And that's going to be at like 3:00. Woohoo. I like, that's like one of the only things that gets me out of bed in the morning is looking at property. Such a weirdo. But, I think the idea of home ownership is such a dream to me that it's like, really, this is like one of the things that motivates me. But other than that, I'm like feeling depressed all the time. It's fine. It's going to go away. Don't worry. I'm not worried about it. I felt this way my whole life. But it's just, that's what's going on. So it's like part of why I'm taking a break, just kind of trying to explain like a lot of stuff that's been happening. It's been creating a lot of conflict. I kind of like need to do a reality check with myself and a bunch of other people. And I'm just trying to appreciate the fact that like I do find an emotional refuge within my grandparents, and I feel very supportive or supported by them, and very appreciative that I even have this opportunity right now, because again, they may not be around forever. I mean, I don't know, man, my family's kind of immortal, so not really, but everybody dies in their 90s and my grandparents are only in their 80s. I mean, hey, that's 10 years. That's like pretty soon. I don't know. I feel like the last 10 years flew by. But yeah, so, just trying to like appreciate the things I have. Yes, gratitude's important. We talked about this because my family doesn't like my attitude right now. It's fine. They can feel that way. They're entitled to feel however they want about me. That's their decision. It's fine. So, but anyway, all this is just me kind of taking, I don't know why I'm playing with a pen, whatever, fidget stuff. All of this is me just like kind of taking a break because I need to, and I want to, and circumstantially I also have to, because it's like, I decided I'm not going to bring my work computer to Hawaii, and I'm going to have like separation anxiety from it. Like literally, it's going to be so hard. It's like real workaholic talk right there. Oh, it makes me really uncomfortable. Okay, so I guess that's everything for today, and I'll see you on the other side of my computer. On the other side of my vacation stuff. Now that I'm talking about it, I actually am starting to feel excited. It will be a relief again I will escape the reality of the terrible living at home thing, which pretty soon is not going to be an issue anymore, so I should be happy. But I don't want to pack. So all these mixed feelings. But whatever. That's everything. Taking a break again. And I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks. And everybody have a very nice time. Please try not to miss me too much. I actually feel like sometimes I want to quit YouTube all the time. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then it's like I realize how much my videos like inspire the public and help people, and I'm like, I can't do it. Like I can't let these people down. Like I believe me, that's how I feel. Okay, so if you miss me, go watch my old videos from like June. That's all I have to say about that. All right, so until 2 weeks from now, thanks everybody. Bye.